What's up, everyone? Welcome back to All Things Nerdy with Nate and Joe. I'm Nate. That's Joe. Today, we have a very special guest. I'm so excited to talk about this. I am very musically challenged, and Rob has already played a little for us, so I'm excited to share with y'all and talk with Rob about it and y'all about harmonicas and just the music that comes with them and everything you can do and how versatile they are and stuff like that. So excited to talk to you today. But again, I'm Nate. Joe?
I'm Joe, but without further ado, Rob, talk nerdy to us.
Nice to meet everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, yeah. So Rob, I guess give us a little bit of background. So we're going to be talking about harmonicas, and I know you can absolutely shred with it, so we're going to get into that. But tell us a little bit about you and your background with the harmonica.
Sure. So I live in Canada, but I was actually born in Chicago, and being born in Chicago, I'm sure my dad had a few harmonicas laying around the house. Not that he was a serious player or anything like that, but I remembered them being around the house. And then I think when I was in high school, I hate to admit it, but this is the nerdy podcast. So my spark of influence was that I watched the Crossroads movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a great old movie about Ralph Macchio, who learns how to play blues under the tutorialship of a blues legend. And I had a friend who played guitar, and I was playing guitar as well, but just not capable enough to play along with anybody. So I thought, I can play the harmonica and have a spot. So I dug up my dad's old harmonicas and started trying to copy what I was hearing in the movie. And then I realized, okay, these are probably old bad harmonicas. I went to the music store, and the guy sold me a harmonica. Said, "Yeah, that's a good one. It'll work fine for you." Brought it home, tried it, and brought it back the next day. I said, "I think the harmonica's broken. You sold me. It doesn't work. It doesn't it doesn't sound correct." And so he said, "This one." And he took it from me in my hand, and this is pre-COVID days. He grabbed it and he played something like that, and immediately, he's like, "I don't think there's anything wrong with the harmonica. You just got to learn how to play it." So from that point, I started just digging into guys that I liked. So started with the movie and tried to figure out who were they playing. I didn't really know anything about it. And ran into Little Walter, Sonny Boy Williamson, James Cotton. So these are all the classic Chicago blues players that ended up really creating what we know today as modern blues harmonica, which is the style that I play in. But there's a lot of other styles. There's country harmonica, there's gospel harmonica. There's full harmonica ensembles in the 50s. It was actually quite a thing where they would have full bands that were playing harmonicas. Some of them were like this big, so they were orchestrated. So I think I have, this is an example of a chromatic harmonica. So you would play something like this more in like a gospel in a church, because you can play every note in the scale. So it's I play it pretty much blues style. So it's where I'm tongue blocking 3 holes in the middle. So it's kind of its own thing. But that's pretty much how I got addicted to it. And then once you're trying to mimic and reproduce the sounds that you're hearing on the records, you realize that there's more to it than just the harmonica. So they're using tube amplifiers. They're using special microphones that all together, when you put the microphone and the amplifier and the player together, and now you get a proper full amplified sound. So for anybody that is not watching, I'm showing what a vacuum tube looks like. And these are what actually sit inside of a vintage old guitar amplifier, which is what we play through. So typically these are made out of glass, and they have some posts on them, and they plug into the bottom chassis of the equipment, and they glow orange when the amplifier is turned on. So these are in pre-transistors. So nowadays there's transistors on a circuit board, but vacuum tubes were what existed before transistors. And it is the vacuum tubes that actually give the harmonica a warmer sound than what a transistor would sound like. So that's why you'll hear that harmonica. Real harmonica geeks always play with tube amplifiers.
Okay.
Okay.
So I know you have like an old one. Do they make new harmonica amplifiers, or do they all like have to go back to the old ones because of the plug?
No, good question. And yeah, there's quite a few boutique manufacturers these days that have gone back and looked at the old schematics and faithfully reproduced old tube amplifiers. They can get fairly pricey. They get really ridiculous. So sometimes they'll go so far as to reclaim wood from a barn that's over 100 years old. So they're not starting with moist new wood. They're starting with 100-year-old wood. They plane it out. They make the cabinet for the amplifier. People, I myself have always had a passive search on the go for tubes. So years back, a friend of mine hit a jackpot with it was an old TV repair shop. And I guess the person who owned it had passed away, and it was left to his family, and they were selling off the contents. So he had a few boxes of pristine, never used, never in a amplifier tubes from 1950s. So U.S. made Westinghouse tubes. So there's no quality like what they were making in the 1950s, because they were military grade, and they were good old American made product. They lasted forever. And so we kind of hunt for those in our spare time. Garage sales, we look for anything that has tubes in it to find a vintage old tube, because these days you can buy Chinese made tubes and Russian made tubes. The Russian made tubes are comparable to the US, but obviously we prefer US tubes.
And that makes a big difference in the sound, is what you're saying, like when you're playing.
Yeah, actually it does, because what happens is the tubes on if you're using brand new Chinese tubes, they become what's known as microphonic. So they're just inferior the way they're made in general, more or less mass produced, and the grade of the materials inside of the tubes are just lower quality. So they become they give you feedback is basically the end result. It gives you unpredictable sound.
Okay. And so there's a lot of what it seems like a lot that goes into kind of the mechanics and the equipment that you need to like get that perfect sound of a harmonica. But how important is like music theory, like when you want to play the harmonica? Like, do you read sheet music and stuff like that? Kind of have to understand music theory, or are you just going by ear?
Hold on, Joe, your bird is going wild, dude. I don't know what's happening. I think it's your bird.
Maybe he wants to play the harmonica. he wants one of those little ones. They have. So your question was, how important is all of the gear in terms of like just getting started?
Well, more of just understanding music theory, like.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I've been playing music for over, I don't want to admit how long, but let's say close to 40 years. And with that, I don't think I've ever taken any official music lessons. So I actually use the Nashville numbering system, which is sort of a language that Nashville players use to communicate, so they can drop in with anybody in any situation and scenario, and you don't have to know A flat, B sharp, C. You don't have to know the scales. You just have to know the notes relative to one another. So it's a numbering system. So this note is 4 notes away from that note. So we go from the 1 to the 4 to the 6 to the. So I know music theory in that way. But to become a functional harmonica player, the short answer is absolutely not. You can the best way I usually suggest for people if they're interested and they want to start playing is to get yourself a key that's a fairly common key. So they come in I'll show you. Well, you can see this is this is an example of my harmonica graveyard from old harmonicas that I might be out of rotation. And this would be a set of my working harmonicas that I use if I'm playing a show or something like that. And so they come in every possible key, and they can be expensive. So probably to get a starter harmonica that's functional that you can learn to play on, I would expect to pay no less than $25 to $30. Generally, the ones that I play are about $60 or $70 per harmonica. And so I would get a C, key of C harmonica. And without musical theory, I would begin by playing songs that I'm absolutely familiar with. So that means probably nursery rhymes, where I don't need the notes in front of me. I'm going to try one here. I haven't done this in a long time, but I'll just try to pick a nursery rhyme like. So that was me kind of learning on it. So I was plucking around. I didn't play it clean because I didn't have it in my head. But that song is ingrained as most people. So I would take simple songs like that and just start playing up and down until you hear one of the notes. And then it's the thing about harmonica that's different than the guitar or the, let's say, piano, is you can't see it. So somebody could show you where to hold your fingers on the guitar, but when it comes to the harmonica, we're talking about, what you do with your tongue in your mouth to bend the note. So that's on the same note, but it's all happening inside of I'm dropping my jaw and dropping my tongue to actually bend that note.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, my old tube amplifier was starting to make a lot of old tube noise.
No worries. So if you go into a store, what is your favorite harmonica brand, or what would you recommend as a good starter brand? One that's not trash, not the highest quality, but kind of just middle of the road. Like you'll get some good playing out of it, good to learn on.
My recommendation would probably be a Hohner. They're the premier brand in harmonicas. There's a lot of other newer brands like Suzuki and Lee Oscars, but Hohner has a really wide range, and I would say them are either Big River is probably the most entry point. That would be sort of professional grade, so that'd probably be about $35. And
so if you think if you want to start on a guitar, if you can't really get a good decent guitar for $35, but if you can get a good professional grade harmonica, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's portable, so you can if you go hiking or go camping, the perfect situation to try it out if you're all alone. As I said before, when I was starting out, my neighbor used to call it the misery whistle every time that I had it out, because I think one of the things that I did was just try to get every type of sound out of it. So not just trying to play songs, but I would say, what does it sound like? How do I make the sound of a train or a car or that's not necessarily musically appealing, but it's just trying to find what are the different sounds that you can make this thing create. Like a train sound, or so there's a lot in it.
My wife would call it a misery whistle as well if I picked one up and tried to play it. That's just from what her ears would be feeling.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. I didn't start on the harmonica. I started on the guitar, but as I said, I wanted to be able to connect with other players and have a spot where I could bring some value. So I just saw it as a faster learning curve, and quickly got myself to, I would say, like an intermediate level where I would be able to play in most, all the different keys and play along with most songs, but probably not really ready for a stage, that's for sure. And then I broke my hand quite badly, and I wasn't able to play the guitar for quite a few years. And I had a long commute to work every day, about an hour and a half each direction. And I know, but I did it for 3 years, and I did it with purpose. So I brought harmonicas with me. I brought the material that I wanted to work on, and I used to play for 3 hours a day in the car, just back and forth, and just trying to copy little parts of a song that I'd hear, just whatever. And over those 3 years, I was putting in 3 hours a day, 3 hours a day. So just time on the instrument makes a big difference. So it kind of replaced my number one instrument.
Yeah. So question for you. You've mentioned a couple times you wanted to be able to connect and play with other people, right? So if I'm new to this and I've been playing for a while, I think I got it down. How would I go about connecting with those people? You said you've been doing it for a little over 40 years. So I don't want to keep bringing that up, but you said it. And so you were probably kind of known in your area, but say I just pick it up, say I've been playing it for like 2 years. I finally got the hang of it. I want to go out and connect and meet some people. How would I do that? Are there Facebook groups? Are there what is it?
Yeah. So I think in every city, every town, there's probably some kind of open mic somewhere. And I've hosted them before, and had all kinds of people show up that have gone from complete novice to over 2-3 years period of time, become capable musicians at it. And so the thing that I would say is have a few keys available, and have some songs specifically that you've taken an interest in and you've worked on. And if you show up and you can name a popular song that you've worked on, typically the band might have a sense of that song, and they'd be able to play it. And at an open stage, nobody's getting paid, so everybody's pretty supportive. And yeah, I think that's a good place to start. There's a lot of harmonica players that usually show up, and all different levels, and they're supportive.
So what is your favorite song to play? And then what is the first song outside of nursery rhymes that you learned to play?
Good question. I think favorite song is, that's really hard for me to boil down to one song. I don't think I could answer that question. It just depends on the mood, the moment. So sometimes I just want to play a upbeat swing, or other times I want to play something funky on the harmonica. So it really just depends. So I could break it down into categories. So shuffles might be anything by Little Walter. His shuffles were amazing. James Cotton for something slow and feeling. Yeah, I would say that's probably that's a tougher question. the specific songs. But what was your other question? You want to know?
What was the first song you learned to play outside of nursery rhymes? Like the first song that like
Oh,
you were confident in.
yeah, that was a James Cotton song, and it was called "Born in Chicago." So it's got a this is not the right key, but I'll be able to explain why it was my first one that I really got, because it has a lot of, one simple basic technique that sounds really great. And when you think of the harmonica, that's the technique, which is the warble. So it's a so it's got a lot of that in it. So not a lot
Sounds so
of
cool.
technique and other things going on, but it's a cool, we call that a lick. So it's just a cool sounding repeating lick that has as a harmonica player, we listen to how well somebody can just execute that. So we're listening to how accurate the vibration is. We're listening to how clean it is. Are they bleeding into other notes? Do they have a control over it? Like, so is it loud? So if somebody's not airtight, it sounds like, but if they're airtight, it sounds like. So it's just a lot of it is inside of here, and a lot of it is just time on the instrument. So you asked about which YouTube channels. Honestly, I use YouTube as a good source to learn things about harmonica, but I don't have one particular person that I just go to. There's a lot of really good instructors and people that break it down. My advice would be, if you're interested, just there's some good instructors out there that have good courses and like to break it down. But I would say a lot of people get caught up in the theory and they just get turned off. So the reason why I like to start with the nursery rhyme is because immediately you're playing a song, and as soon as you're playing a song, regardless of how cool that song is, you feel some kind of music going through you, and it leads to more.
Okay. I just want to say, like, the lick and all that stuff, and like the noise, the sound that it makes, just like hits me in my soul, makes me so happy. Like, I absolutely love it. That is so cool. Like, I feel like I could just sit down and listen to that for, I don't know for how long, but for a very extended amount of time.
So for you, then we call it the Mississippi saxophone.
Yeah, I mean, I live in New Orleans, right? We're big on jazz and stuff here and things like that. So you also hear some people just off to the side, just riffing, doing their own thing, and there are a lot of people that like just absolutely destroy some harmonica down here. So it's cool when I hear it. I just it just makes me happy.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that if I go on vacation somewhere, I don't like to stage barge. But if I find the right situation, the right scenario, then it's cool because you're ready to go. So if somebody's playing the right style of music, and if you have the right conversation, then they know, okay, well, this guy knows what he's talking about, and usually get to make some friends.
That's awesome. So, what is the average lifespan of a harmonica? So, I guess multiple questions. Average lifespan, and how do you upkeep?
So if you're playing a lot, it's I would say 3 gigs, and my harmonicas, the ones that are the primary keys that I play in, they need a little bit of maintenance. So that's a good question, because what happens is if you actually start playing the harmonica over time, you're playing through your mouth, so little bits of whatever saliva probably dry on the reeds, and they build up over time, and they detune the harmonica. So you have a choice: either you have to go and buy a new one, or you have to get in there and do some maintenance. So actually, I can show you. I'm going to change my camera and just give you a look at what the inside of a harmonica looks like. Hopefully this works. Okay, so
Joe, can you highlight him? Can you make him big?
There we go.
So this is, oh, I can actually turn that. So this is, an intact harmonica that's, been used. And then what I have here is a harmonica that's actually been opened up. And so generally what happens is these are the reeds on the harmonica. And you'll notice there's little scrapings on, I don't know if you can see it very well on that one, but do you see the little lines?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can see the lines, yeah.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's hard to work in reverse.
Trust me, I know.
So that's how you actually tune the harmonica. So what happens is you can see this is a well-used harmonica. So, we've got some, whatever corrosion and rust and so on there. But basically, to keep a harmonica in working order, you have to make sure that these reeds are free. So, and then what I do is if the note is flat, that means it needs to be raised in pitch. So I actually file a little bit of metal off of the end of the reed, one little scrape at a time. And each time a little bit of metal is taken off of the tip of the reed, it raises the pitch of that particular reed because it can vibrate faster. So it's not like a guitar where you can tune it up and down. You have to one scrape at a time, and it brings it up a little bit more each time. And so what I generally do is I have a something like a tuner, a digital tuner that's showing like this. And so I'll blow the note. Let's see. So we have the third note is a blocked note. So
Okay, I can hear that.
So what I think we can see is it's the third one. Okay, so this is the one that's the offending note, and what it is it's not lined up with the there's not a room. See how there's room on the side of that one reed there?
Yep.
In this one, it's not moving freely, so it's twisted. So in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to put this little wrench right on the reed itself, and we're going to turn it. You see how I'm moving the reed?
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to get this one. Okay, there. It's a bit of a finicky thing, but hopefully I got it. Nope. I might not. I don't think I'll bore you guys with the finicky work of actually getting it to be in tune. So I'm going to switch cameras here because it can take a while. But basically, it's an entire process of going through one reed at a time and scraping off the material to get it in tune. So that's pretty geeky.
I think it's awesome. So, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, is there like a key? I guess a note, a key that you prefer. You said you usually play. What is it? The C.
Well, C's a good one for people that are just starting out because a lot of songs are written in the key of G. So that's actually a beginner tip. You have to know that when you play harmonica, it's not actually played in the same key that the music is in. So it's I'm going to sound like I know about music theory here for a moment, but basically you play 4 notes away from the key that you're in. So if the song is in the key of A, you would play a D harmonica, A, B, C, D. If the song is in F, you would play a B flat harmonica. If the song is in D, you would play a G harmonica. So memorizing those, it's called cross harp. And so in order to play the sounds that you would hear on a record, that's usually where a lot of people go wrong. They figure out the song is in the key of G, so I get a G harmonica, and it's going to sound completely wrong. Right.
Okay. So you've played a lot of different notes on here, and you talked to me and Joe about it a little bit right before we went live. But like the traditional, I think you call it like suck and blow, and then the tongue and things like that, right? Can you give us a couple examples of that and how they differ?
Sure. So as I mentioned, like the Bob Dylan, that type style is just a. People have heard those sort of styling on lots of classic rock songs and what have you, and so that is generally a different category of harmonica players. So those players, for the people that are in the know, they call them just suckers and blowers because it doesn't really require any musicality whatsoever. You're gonna, as long as you're playing the right key in the right harmonica, you can pretty much just suck and blow, and you're gonna hit some notes that sound appropriate. It might not sound great, but it's gonna sound appropriate. And then there's playing single notes and bending, which is kind of the next level, intermediate playing, which is. So it's I can take one note, so I can get a few different notes out of one note. So that gives you the ability to cover a lot more material because all the notes aren't here. You have to be able to bend to find the notes that you need.
Yeah, I didn't even know that you could play the scale. I didn't even know that you could play the full scale on a harmonica, but I'm pretty sure you just did.
Yeah. So because I'm playing the intermediate notes that are in the middle of the notes that are actually here. So that takes just a bit of practice, but you bend to the note, to the spot, so it sounds like you actually. So that's not the actual note. The real note is. So I'm dropping it to the. So it's so it gets tricky up in the upper range because it requires some blow bending. Again, that's just techniques. And then the last thing that I would say for anybody that is really interested, try from the beginning to learn how to play as a tongue blocker. So meaning you're actually. What I do is I post my tongue on each one of these posts, so I'm blowing on both sides of my tongue out to play an octave. So you can hear that the resonating. That's because that note is out of tune. There's 2 notes being played. They should be a perfect octave, but it's one of them needs to be tuned. So I'll deal with that later. But tongue blocking is what gives you a more percussive sound and just more control, and it's louder. So. So it's I'm using my tongue to define the notes. If I didn't use my tongue, it would sound like. So it's still there, but with the tongue blocking, it's more. So it's more percussive sounding.
Yeah, I think it's more defined too. Like I could almost like I don't think feel is the right word, but I could pick up almost like the end of each one where you transition. Where the other one they kind of blended. This one it felt like like a finite. Like I could tell when you were shifting.
So yeah, like we may have not have learned how to play the harmonica on this, but moving forward, you guys are going to know if somebody's tongue blocking or if they're just a sucker and a blower, or if they're.
I can't wait till I go out with some like friends or something and we hear somebody like, absolutely crushing it on harmonica. And I'm like, he's just sucking and blowing, They're going to be like, how do you know that? I'll be like, well, let me point you to my podcast.
Like,
I talked to a nerd,
that dude's a total tongue blocker. Like I can tell.
Oh, when somebody tongue blocks, as soon as I hear somebody tongue block, it makes me feel good. Like now I'm watching somebody who is they've got this figured out.
Yeah, it's gonna be what I look for. Next time I hear somebody, I'm gonna like try to pick it up. And then, I'm a talker, so I'll probably like if I get a chance, I'll walk like, did you like tongue block? Did you like what was your approach there? So
tell me about your process.
So maybe probably I don't know if it's worth it for you guys, but I'll this is an example of a microphone that I use. So I think this is a 1948 Shure microphone, and so the issue or the thing that makes these unique is the actual diaphragm inside. So it's called a controlled reluctance diaphragm microphone. So I can't really get into the technical explanation for exactly what that is, but basically this one works the best with harmonicas. So it just plugs straight in with I had it converted so it can accept a guitar cable, and so you heard me play just with open air behind the microphone style. So that's the equivalent of like an acoustic guitar player or something, and then this will be an example of what amplified harmonica. If it's too loud, just do like this, and I'll know to turn down.
Like I was standing like on a street corner in New Orleans, just coming out of the parades or something.
Oh, well, there's some great players in New Orleans, that's for sure. But everybody can get started. It's probably one of the easiest instruments to get started at, and actually get up to a level where you can make some music. So I'd say within 6 months, most people can be ready to get out there and do something.
Yeah. Well, Joe, do you have any other questions? I know we're over time at this point. Like we always exceed our time, but I want to be respectful of that. Respectful to Rob. Joe, do you have any other questions or anything?
No, I'm good, man. It's been awesome. Just kind of learning. I've learned a lot more than like knew you could learn about harmonicas in the last hour, which is amazing. And then just learned that.
Thanks for letting me nerd out.
Yeah, we're super happy you were able to join us. And like Joe said, I knew there was a lot to a harmonica, right? But you explained it very simply to I'm an idiot, so I was able to understand everything that you were saying and how you were explaining it. I feel like I know so much more than I did, 40 minutes ago.
Good.
So we appreciate you jumping on here.
Thank you. I saw it on LinkedIn, your channel, and just think it's a terrific idea to get people to connect on a different level, not just on pure business, but we can see who's out there and what they're up to. So
Yeah,
cool.
what they're passionate about, what they love. And we love it
We love
because we talk about so many things we aren't familiar with. So we get to like dive into everyone's world. So it's so much fun.
I love it. I like it.
We like to tagline it as like bringing personalities to profiles. So I think
Yeah.
Keep it up. Keep it up, guys. I like it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Rob. Thanks, Joe. Y'all have an excellent day. Y'all take care.
Take care. See ya.